So last month, Dehancer reached out and asked me to review their film emulation plugin. Admittedly, I thought it was a scam at first, but I responded anyways, grabbed my gear, and headed into town. Here's what I got. Now, per their website, the purpose of Dehancer is to accurately emulate film and all of its analog features. Now, for the price tag, I do have a few things to say about that, but I will preface all of this review by saying Dehancer only asked for my true honesty. I have zero idea what I'm doing when it comes to color grading, and apparently I'm colorblind. So let's talk about what you get for $4.99. And just to get a few more things out of the way, I have been shooting, developing, scanning, and editing my own film for about the last 5 years at this point. As well, I have been editing videos for the last 10 years. However, when it comes to color grading, I only have about a year of experience, so this is a little bit of background where I'm coming from. Now, this is not going to be a comprehensive or an in-depth review. I will link a couple of those that I did find most useful down below, but please make sure to check those out after this video. Now, once Dehancer got me set up with an account, I completely disregarded all of their installation guides. I wanted to see exactly how intuitive this plugin was to not only install, but to also get great results from. Now, as someone that can't even install a Minecraft mod properly, I figured this was the right thing to do, and the process was very straightforward. I only ran into one issue that I will say was not solved when I did end up going back through the Dehancer's installation guide, but a quick Reddit search for about 30 seconds got me straightened away. I just didn't know the difference between if I should be using the OpenCL or the CUDA installer. I don't really mess with plugins and mods for my editing softwares all that much. So now I do think that Dehancer has tools that anyone from my homie that just picked up his first camera last month to someone that's been color grading for several years now could benefit from, but there is a specific group of people that I think could benefit most from Dehancer. And that kind of breaks down into 3 subcategories. They're kind of the same. They could relate to you, all 3 of them, or just one of the 3. But I will start off by saying anyone like myself that knows a little bit about color grading, but it might still take you a little bit of time to actually achieve the look that you're going for. It'll just help save you a lot of time. Secondly, I'd say a one-man band that's got a few bucks they're willing to invest into their workflow, but you don't just want to go and buy a bunch of random LUT packs from YouTubers. These will give you very professional and clean looks. And lastly, I'd say if you work on types of projects that require the Super 8 film type of look, however, you don't really have the budget to go and shoot real Super 8, I would say this is a great bang for buck. There's a few quirks that I do have when it comes to using it for that purpose, but I'll get into this later on. I'd say it's still worth the pickup if that's the genre of filmmaking that you're into. Now, I will say that if you have absolutely no idea what you're doing when it comes to color grading, I would spend a couple weeks at the very least with DaVinci Resolve, just learning sliders, how the lift and the gain, all those different things work and how they affect your image before you go and spend $500 on something like Dehancer, because quite honestly, you're not going to know what you're doing to your image when you're using some of these things if you don't already have that basic understanding. Now, I do want to wrap things up on a bit of a more constructive note with a pros and a cons list. So we'll go ahead and start off with the pros here. First things first, this plugin is extremely easy to learn and even easier to use once you have learned it. It is so simple, just a couple sliders. Everything is very straightforward, and if you don't already know what the setting is that you're going to be messing with, there's a guide on their website that will show you with a slider exactly what each effect does. So there's no guessing, you know exactly what you're doing to your image. Secondly, kind of like I stated earlier, you're getting very clean and professional looks with these emulations. They're not quite presets or LUTs when it comes to getting a very creative look, but they are a great starting point when it comes to getting a good color grading base. And oftentimes you can use some of these film emulations as a final product and it looks great. So I mean, with what you're getting for the price that you're paying, I think that it's a great bang for buck. Lastly, it's a very professional company and they have a large community backing them. So you're not just getting, like I said earlier, some LUT packs off of your favorite YouTuber or some rinky dinky software plugin that you were advertised to on Instagram. This is a real deal and definitely got a support base to it. So if you have questions, you run into issues, there's going to be somebody to assist you with it. Now, jumping over to the cons here, these I am kind of reaching and nitpicking for, so keep that in mind. I really was scratching my head trying to find things I did not like about this plugin. So I will say, firstly, for that target audience that I mentioned earlier, I do think that this plugin is a little bit pricey. Now, obviously, the group of individuals I think would benefit most from this plugin would be very different than the audience that Dehancer was targeting with this plugin. But I'll say again, it would be a little bit pricey for those that would really get the most out of this plugin. I think I'll talk a little bit later on about that topic, so stick with me there. Secondly, this plugin can be a bit intensive on your computer, so make sure that you check your specs, check the required spec sheet on the Dehancer site. I'll leave it on screen here, but make sure you go through that and compare to your contrast and make sure that your computer will be able to run it. A very powerful computer. But the further I got into some of these settings, once I got like grain, halation, bloom, gate weave, like all of them on, my computer started bogging down. And to be fair, I was editing 4K footage at 400 megabits per second. So take that again for what it is, but very intensive program. So keep that in mind. And that's really it for the cons. I couldn't really think of too much else, but I'll get into a few ways that I do think Dehancer could realistically improve the plugin. I'll start that off with the most important thing in my eyes, and that would be the halation feature. Now, I'll link this video down below that I think is very, very important to what I'm about to say, but also to anyone that's actually working at Dehancer taking this feedback and have not already, please watch this video that I'm linking below. But the halation feature is not physically accurate. I've shot a lot of Cinestill in my days. I know where halation should and should not be present. I use it intentionally in my compositions. So using this feature, that was a little bit of a letdown from a purist's sake. And then lastly, I will say the overscan feature could also use a little bit of a rework. I've seen a couple other creators mention it. It seems a little bit fake. It's very jumpy, very cartoony, and very animated, if that makes sense. That's kind of the best way that I can describe it from my eyes, but that it's just not as realistic as I think that it could be. Dehancer, please maybe work on those few things that I mentioned. I can live without those things being changed, but you wanted my honest feedback, I'm giving it to you. Overall, I really enjoy my time using Dehancer, and I do genuinely intend on using this plugin on all future projects that I work on, whether it's a Rec 709 conversion, because that's much quicker than a CST sandwich, or it's a full color grade. I'm going to use this plugin in some way, shape, or form, some capacity on every future project that I go through, or at least the next few years. I can assure that. So thank you, Dehancer, for sending this over. I am greatly thankful for it. Now, I think that if you have enough interest to not only watch this far into this review, but to watch videos prior or after this one about this plugin, and you're still finding the price of $500 to be a little bit steep, then I think this plugin is perfect for you. Now, for most people, $500 is not just some pocket change, but if you are fortunate enough from recent gigs or your business is doing well enough that you can extend that kind of investment to your workflow, I certainly think that the $500 price tag is very reasonable for what you are getting with this plugin. It will pay for itself very, very quickly. Super, super powerful plugin. I just strongly recommend, if you are interested in purchasing the product, make sure you test out the trial before you go and put the money into this plugin. Like I had mentioned, especially if your computer cannot run it, what's the point of spending the $500 on it? Now, just a few last things to close this out. I do have a promo code that'll save you about 5 or 10% off. That's GRC OSS. I'll leave that on screen here. But if you liked anything that I had to say or myself enough and this plugin, by all means, feel free to use my code. I don't care if you do too much or not, but I just recommend getting yourself some kind of discount. So even if it's not my code, use a code. Secondly, Dehancer is currently hosting a Colorist Awards right now. Go ahead and enter into that. Some pretty great submissions already, so definitely worth checking out. Lastly, to Dehancer, I wanted to thank you very much for sending me this plugin to test out and giving me this opportunity. Forever thankful. And if you made it this far into this video, I thank you for taking the time out of your day. I guess now is the time where I should do all of that YouTuber stuff. So if you like me enough, leave a like, comment if you have any questions, comments, or concerns. And again, if you liked enough of what I had to say, make sure that you go ahead and subscribe for future videos, or follow me down on my social media below. Twitter and Instagram are really where I'm primarily active at, so I'm on there pretty much every day. I respond to everyone, so go ahead and feel free to reach out to me there. Thank you all again. I just hope you all have a great rest of your day and stay safe.